Welcome to Unclouded, your source for the astrological forecast and some cosmic chit-chat. I'm Ashley Brooks.
And I'm Ty Gowan.
And this is hopefully our last remote week. We're just trying to keep everyone healthy, as apparently all of Maine gets flummoxed by viruses. So,
the kids go back to school, we're destroyed.
I know.
Like, literally how it goes.
I work with a lot of parents, and like all of them were sick the last couple weeks, from things that their kids brought home. So,
Hope you're feeling better though.
I am starting to, I guess.
Good. We want you back. I want to do this in person.
Yeah, I know. I'm glad we have a couple weeks before we are going to meet up. So I think I'll be good to go.
Sweet, sweet. Well, I got a quick question for you as we lope into spooky season here. I want to know, Ash, what your favorite childhood Halloween movie was.
Oh, boy.
Do you have one that raises to the top? What was it? What is it?
Casper, the 1995 movie.
I just watched it with Erin 2 nights ago because we hadn't seen it in decades. It's fantastic still.
I know. I had it on VHS, so I'd watch it every year, and I just loved it. It was so atmospheric, and it takes place in Maine, which is so cool. Mm-hmm. If you haven't seen it, it's a lot of fun. It actually we have this theater up here that will play older movies, and so they played Casper last year, so we went to go see Casper.
You must have
on
been
the
in
big
heaven.
Screen.
That's
it was
awesome.
so fun. It's just such a wholesome movie, and oh my god, the end when Devon Sawa comes to life. Ugh,
for that brief moment before 10 p.m.
I know, it's like a modern Cinderella story.
It also has I think one of the quintessential Halloween tracks. It's like the Casper theme, that's on the piano.
Yes.
And that alone is the backbone of Halloween for me. When you can hear that creeping in. Yeah,
I know.
Exactly.
Oh my god, and I really hope that somebody out there will build some kind of ride where I can ride that chair down into that chamber.
The laboratory?
Please somebody, some amusement park out there, build us something like that in a haunted house. Do it.
Perfect. Bring us down and then put the purple juice into the machine to bring the ghost back to life.
Yeah. Maybe don't throw shaving cream and stuff at us, but everything else is fine.
We don't need the 3 ghosts.
No. Stinky and Stretch and
Stinky, Stretch, and Fatso.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
That's so good. The 90s didn't care at all.
What was your favorite? I think I know, but I gotta ask.
Oh, you know it. Hands down, it's Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury.
Oh my god, it's so good.
It teaches kids about Halloween from different cultures a little bit. It stars Leonard Nimoy, which is you can't ask for much more, as Carapace Clavicle Moundshroud.
Yes, and then Pipkin.
Pipkin, the greatest boy who ever lived.
Yeah.
It's funny.
All the soda pop in the world fizzed over when he was born.
That's right. You remember.
Of course I
do. You remember.
I do.
You can jump higher, run faster, and eat more popcorn.
Yeah, I love it so much.
The best pumpkin I ever did was at your William Street apartment, the year that I did the Pipkin Soul pumpkin.
Oh,
and
my God.
I really took my time. It looked exact. I've never done any better art than that.
Yeah, that was next level for sure.
Pip channeled through me.
Yeah, if you haven't seen either of these movies, you should. They're very fun.
Especially with children around. I don't know if Halloween Tree translates great to a first-timer adult, where maybe Casper could, but...
Yeah, I mean, I think it could. There's some fun in there. As long as you are in touch with your inner child, you'll be fine.
For sure. And Ray Bradbury does no wrong. I'm actually, to get into the spooky season this year, I'm reading Something Wicked This Way Comes for the first time.
Oh, I love it so much.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah, isn't it so good? Ray Bradbury we have very similar astrology charts. We have the same sun and moon sign. So I feel like he speaks to me. It just connects,
That's so cool. And I'm friends with you. I would be friends with him, I think.
Yeah,
that's how
absolutely.
We work out.
There's just a certain whimsy and an appreciation for nostalgia that's in his writing, and magic, and keeping the magic that we saw through childhood alive, but with a touch of darkness. That's just perfect for me. I love it so much.
You summed his writing up perfectly. I couldn't say it any better than that. That's so good.
Yeah, Something Wicked This Way Comes is great. I everything I've ever read by him has been just really good. So can't go wrong.
Well, we can cosmic chit chat around Halloween stuff all day long, but
Oh,
do you
yeah.
want to jump into the forecast?
Yeah, let's do that. So today I'm doing a focus on Scorpio. So we're going to talk about a few transits. We only have 4 transits this week anyway, so it's actually a perfect week to do a spotlight on Scorpio because it's a slower week astrologically. So
Perfect.
we'll go through those and then we will talk about Scorpios. So on Tuesday, the 22nd, we have Mercury trining Saturn. So on the day of Tuesday, all day, you might find it easier to get things done, to remember information. So it's a good day to learn or to read new things. You're more likely to retain it. And you might be able to focus on small menial tasks a little bit better on Tuesday. That same day, though, the sun is squaring Pluto and Venus is trining the North Node. So I said that there's only a few transits happening, and they're mostly happening on Tuesday, the 22nd. So the sun is squaring Pluto. So this is presenting some challenges, possibly. You might feel the desire to push through boundaries that are presenting in your life. The thing about this transit is, even though it's a square, it does it's kind of like acts as a catalyst. So you might notice that there's certain things that are coming up that are like boxing you in or feel like they're like people are telling you what to do, but instead of getting like completely beaten down by that, there is this energy of wanting to overcome and wanting to keep pushing on. So it could be really good. But if there aren't many challenges already at play in your life, you might be causing problems just to have something to overcome.
I don't love that. No. We don't need to be inventing problems in our lives.
No, so be aware of that. There could be some like just focusing on the negative just so you have this, because it's like this transit produces a need to persevere and almost like be the underdog that comes back to win it. And yeah,
even if that's not natural?
Yeah, like there's going to be more of that in the world. So
that literally gives me an astrological ick.
Like, yeah,
I know like that.
Well, I know a lot of people who have this natally, and they tend to be very perseverant. They are people that are like, if they fall down, they're going to get back up every single time. Like they tend to be very, like they're just not going to give up. They're that type of people, resilient people. But yeah, they are very sensitive to being told what to do. They don't like red tape. They don't want to be told no. So just think about that, but on like a more like universal level. And that's kind of what we're touching into.
Yeah. The people who don't have strife create strife to have strife.
Yeah. Because they need that overcoming, Okay, so then the same day we have Venus trining the North Node. This does open up new possibilities for relationships. You could meet very significant people on this day. You could find that the people that reach out to you on this day are going to play a significant role in the next chapter of your life. Relationships are going to take on a more significant feeling, like it could feel more fated or destined in some way. So yeah, there could be new connections formed, or there could be existing connections that feel more important and significant kind of rising to the surface.
Yeah, a lot of Venus in this month still. Like I know I said that last week, but like that still rings true. We haven't heard much from her over the summer, I think.
Yeah, Venus is coming out to play for sure. So Venus is now in Sagittarius. So yeah, this is like a playful thing too. So you might find that because Venus is in Sagittarius, you could go somewhere and meet someone. Like it's less about like somebody kind of coming to you. It's more like being out in the world and encountering people. Okay, then finally on Thursday the 24th, we have Mars sextile Uranus. And Mars transits we tend to feel building for a few days before and a few days after, kind of dissipating. This transit can give us a lot of energy, but it's kind of coming in bursts. It's like spurts of energy where we suddenly are like, oh, wow, I want to go do that thing. And you could find that you are getting pulled into like kind of weird directions, but it feels fun and exciting. It's not negative. The sextile is gentle. So you could find yourself doing things you didn't expect to be doing, but that end up being really rewarding and fun.
Cool. Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about Scorpio.
Scorpio season.
Yeah, so we know some Scorpios. Shout out to our friend Margie, who is
Margie, friend of me and friend of show.
Yes, friend of show for sure. And also I want to shout out my friend Whitney, who listens to this podcast as well. She's another wonderful Scorpio.
Anna Halloran of Haunt Me, another
yes!
Scorpio.
Oh, yes.
You need Scorpios on your team. You don't need Scorpios against you, is what I know.
That's the last thing that you want, and that sums it up. That is like perfect, a perfect way to say it. They are so loyal, but then if if you betray them, they're never getting over that. Scorpios, trust is everything. It's going to be really hard to regain a Scorpio's trust if you have lost it. So
I feel like just me personally, I identify with that too,
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. I think that Aries is sometimes like, I feel like Aries and Scorpio are both, so in ancient times, they were both ruled by Mars, and now Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, because Pluto was discovered, so it was assigned to Scorpio. But I think that Mars rulership, there is this tendency to be like, nope, I'm not going to kind of...
I'm not going to put up with that bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. There's more of that, like, the sword that comes down. Okay, so Scorpio.
I've not known Margie to suffer a fool.
No, sweetest person alive, but then, you don't want to wrong them.
Nope, okay. That's right.
So element is water for Scorpio. They are a water sign, and they are the fixed water sign. So their modality is fixed, which means they're in the center of a season. We're right in the middle of autumn here in the northern hemisphere, and they're in the middle of spring in the southern hemisphere. So fixed signs tend to be more stubborn. They tend to be more set in their ways. They kind of like to preserve and persevere. Because they're a water sign too, and fixed water, they tend to feel things very deeply. They tend to really be in their emotions, but they tend to be more intimate and private about them. So if you are in the inner circle of a Scorpio, you should feel very special, because they don't give that to just anyone.
Cool.
Their symbol is a scorpion. They are ruled by Pluto, as I mentioned. Their opposite sign is Taurus. So Taurus is much more like earthy and grounded, whereas Scorpio is much more mystical and intuitive.
Is Taurus also a fixed sign then?
Yes, they are. Oh. Good work. So yes, opposite signs are always the same modality, but a different element. So Taurus is fixed earth. Scorpio is fixed water. The day of the week that they rule over is Tuesday. The animals that they rule over is insects, which makes sense because they're scorpion. Gemstones are topaz, which is the birthstone for November. We have tanzanite, which is a very intuitive stone. And we have anhydrous agate, which is agate that has water trapped inside of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, which is very Scorpio. Colors are crimson and burgundy. Their lucky number is 8. And their personality traits, kind of just on a more stereotypical level, are passionate, intense, intuitive, investigative, and obsessive. So yeah, they tend to be the furthest thing from shallow. They want to really understand something on a deep level. When they're into something, they want to know everything about it. They tend to be a little more obsessive about the things that they love and the people that they love. And they can be very private, but when they love somebody, they want to be very close and intimate with them. Like, they don't like shallow relationships. They'd rather probably have like 1 or 2 great friends than a bunch of like casual friends.
Cool.
So for Scorpio celebrities, it was funny because I kind of had a harder time making this list, because Scorpio is not a sign that likes fame, because they are so private and they're so guarded about like what they put out there. So there's actually way fewer Scorpio celebrities than any other sign. So I did my best with this list, and I think it's still like a pretty good list, but generally speaking, there weren't as many on here. So for musicians, we have SZA, Lorde, Sierra, Katy Perry, Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh my gosh.
Bjork and Jeff Buckley. So
I would have, Bjork would make sense to me, where Weird Al doesn't. Like, he's at least his stage persona is the opposite of
Yeah.
like what you called out, you know?
Exactly. It's very silly. I'm wondering if he has some Sagittarius placements somewhere because he's giving a lot of Sagittarius energy. I wonder if I haven't actually looked at his chart, but that would be interesting to do. But I mean, like I think Scorpios can be funny, but maybe like the way in which he does that is he's not showing too much of who he really is, you know, like that's sort of like a stage act, a stage persona. So
Yep.
maybe like he likes to keep his real self private. Like we don't know too much about like the real Weird Al Yankovic underneath all of the weirdness and the big hair. So
Maybe that is the entire episode I do for one of the November podcasts is all Weird Al underneath and on top.
yeah, exactly.
That
Like
would
what
be
is he
two sections.
presenting as
Yeah,
and what is he really underneath that scorpionic exterior?
Scorpionic. Yeah. I like that
Scorpionic,
word.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so there's a lot of musicians here that are like more emotional in their singing and a little more mysterious. I mean, Katy Perry, I wouldn't say is necessarily more emotional. She's a little bit more colorful and like vibrant as well, like Weird Al. So I think that there's different flavors of Scorpio.
And I imagine Katy Perry's just singing whatever anyone hands her, you know,
Yeah,
like so.
exactly.
I don't know. I mean, sorry, I'm not like deep on Katy Perry lore, but I can't imagine there's a huge amount of herself going into her.
I don't think she writes her songs. I'm not positive, so sorry if there are Katy Perry fans listening, but I know that like SZA and Lorde definitely write all their own music. Bjork, Jeff Buckley, those are all like very emotional
and clearly Weird Al.
Yeah, Weird Al writes all his own. Yeah, that's for sure. Okay. So then we have for actors, we have Julia Roberts, Winona Ryder, Emma Stone, Ryan Gosling, Mr. Halloween himself.
Love him.
We have Ryan Reynolds, both Ryans. We have Whoopi Goldberg, Joaquin Phoenix, Gabrielle Union, Demi Moore, Danny DeVito, Jodie Foster, Aishwarya Rai, who was a very big Bollywood star in India, and then Hedy Lamarr. Who I love. She's awesome. She was like an old movie star that was also like a genius and a scientific inventor. So, yeah, really like an interesting array of people for sure. But they all like have like a cause or something that they're very serious about. I think most of these people do. And then for historical figures, we have Bram Stoker. We talked about him last week.
Yeah. Shout out to Bram Stoker.
He was involved in a little scandal. You should check that out if you haven't heard. Albert Camus, Fyodor Dostoevsky, Sojourner Truth, Marie Antoinette, Sylvia Plath, which totally checks out.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Monet and Picasso. So we do have a lot of like very emotional writers and artists, and I mean, I feel like there's like a twinge of darkness to some of these people that the Scorpio energy gives.
But like with Ryan Gosling, that twinge of darkness gave us Dead Man's Bones.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. If you haven't heard it, Ryan Gosling made an album of all like Halloween themed music.
It's flawless.
Yeah, it's really good. Like he's a great musician.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Yep. So there's, Scorpios in general, they are, as I mentioned, very private, very loyal. They are some of the best people to have on your side, some of the worst people to have against you. You want to keep all your Scorpio friends happy. They are really thorough. They make good investigators, detectives. They are really interesting people and tend to be very intuitive and even psychic.
Well, public service announcement for this week. Check in on your local Scorpio.
Yes, exactly. Tell them that you care.
Love it. Well, you ready to dive into our topic this week, Ash?
I am. I don't even know what we're talking about. I'm so excited.
That's perfect. We're going to jump into the Nobel Peace Prize.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know. We're flipping from like a cult last week to just something that I wanted to know more about.
Yeah, that sounds interesting. All right, I'm ready.
So, do you know much about the Nobel Peace Prize or the Nobel Prizes in general, Ash? Or
I mean, just on a base level, like that it's awarded to people who do good work in the world that are, very giving and have like furthered humanity in some way.
Yep. And that's really where I was too. And I was like, there's got to be more. So that's where the research came from this time, is knowing that there's more depth, you know?
Yes.
So there's actually 5 Nobel Prizes that go out every year. And they've gone out mostly every year since the foundation was established in 1901. So the five categories are chemistry, physics, medicine, literature, and then the 5th one is the one everyone knows the most about, and that's the Nobel Peace Prize.
Okay.
So each category requires outstanding achievements to even be considered. And the Peace Prize specifically is awarded to an individual who has, and this is a quote, done the most or best work for fraternity between nations, for the abolition or reduction of standing armies in a country, and for holding and promoting peace of Congress. So those 3 factors somehow have to amount to a winner.
Okay.
So in April of 1897, after the committee was thought of, 5 people were formed to select the winners, known as laureates, who exemplify selflessness, humility, and visionary thinking in each one of these categories. So the first winners, they actually started off, the Peace Prize was given away to 2 people on the first year.
Oh, wow.
So 1901, it included Henry Durant, who won for humanitarian work helping wounded soldiers. And he shared his award with Frederick Passy, who won for his lifelong work towards international peace conferences, diplomacy, and arbitration. So just 2 people doing good in the world in 1901.
I love that. That's cool.
So since that time, 141 laureates have been presented Peace Prizes. 111 have gone to people, and 30 have gone to organizations.
Okay.
Which, again, I had no idea they could do that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Other thing that I thought was really neat is that prizes don't have to be awarded every year. If the committee doesn't deem prospects worthy, or the presentation would be ill-timed based on world climate, they don't give those awards out. So during World War I and World War II, very few prizes were given out at all.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Everyone was
not behaving.
It was a mess.
Yeah,
exactly. The world was being bad.
Yes, I think we are also in a world is being bad moment right now, too. So I'd be interested to see what's happening this year because the 2024 winners are going to be announced this month.
Okay.
Yeah. So you don't just get the title, though. This is really cool. Because of the fund that was set up at the origination of the Nobel Peace Committee, laureates are presented with a 24-karat gold medal, a diploma, and approximately $1 million.
Wow.
You're right. I had no idea. Like, that'll change your whole life.
Yeah. Okay.
So
That's a good incentive
$1 million is like really important too, because the amounts fluctuated over the years. But the current prize of $1 million is always meant to kind of stay at the value of what $1 million would be. So it basically equates to the same amount of what $1 million would have been in 1901. They didn't give away $1 million in 1901.
Right, it's just with inflation.
Yeah, they inflate the prize to make sure that you feel like you've won $1 million, no matter what type of climate that you're in, which I thought was really cool.
That is nice.
The last little fast fact I have for you is that 5 people have been awarded a Nobel Peace Prize during imprisonment for their cause, which I thought was also
Nelson
really
Mandela or something.
Did he win one? But
I thought he did, but I might be making that up. So
I didn't go into that, but yes, same type of situation where he's in prison for peace.
Right.
That type of thing. So that, in a high level, very quick 3-minute overview is the Nobel Peace Prize.
That's so cool. So they do it every single year for all those categories. If there's somebody that they would deem good to win that. Yeah.
And they apparently have I think there's the people who are on the committee, I read this somewhere, that they spend all year going through applicants, and you can't apply yourself. You have to be nominated. And the process really takes 9 to 10 months to go through those thousands of applications. And it's really interesting that they have the opportunity to look at 1,000 applications and still say no.
Right. I mean, you can't just be awarding Nobel Prizes willy-nilly. You got to make sure that people are deserving.
Right. I think it's probably one of the most prestigious and well recognized awards in the world. So like you do have to have that level of discernment.
Yes. Yeah,
Well,
for
you
sure.
ready to jump into someone who's related to this?
Yes,
Okay,
I
so
am.
your birth chart, I don't have a time, but we're going to go with October 21st, 1833 in Stockholm, Sweden.
Okay. So this person is a Libra. Their moon is in Aquarius. I already, just looking at the moon in Aquarius people tend to be very humanitarian. They are very focused on like being idealistic and thinking about the big picture of what can help people. So that totally checks out with everything we're talking about.
Hmm.
And they have an unaspected Uranus and Pluto. So this was generational, though. This was something that we would have been seeing in a lot of the different people that were born in 1833, especially around this autumn.
And they didn't even
So
know Pluto was out there.
yeah, exactly. They weren't aware, but the Pluto wasn't making a contact with anything, nor was Uranus. So this is interesting because to me there is this person would probably have been very steadfast and very unchanging in their energy. Like they're, even though they have this Aquarian moon that would have provided them with a little bit of forward thinking and kind of outside of the box thinking, having an unaspected Uranus would make you maybe a little adverse to living your life with a lot of highs and lows. You would want things to be very kind of predictable, or like you would be more stressed out by change than the average person,
Okay.
or at least just more aware of wanting things to be more balanced and level.
Okay.
And they have an opposition from their sun and Mars. So their sun and Mars are conjunct. And it's funny because I don't know if we've talked about this, but their sun and Mars are conjunct, but they're in different signs. I'm not sure we've discussed how this happens, so I will go
Is it
over that real
rare?
quick. It's not rare, no, but
Okay.
but we haven't seen it with any of our birth charts. So it's not like completely common either, but it's not like, I'm sure there's people listening who have this in their birth chart.
Okay. Tell me more.
So this person's sun is in the final degrees of Libra. So they were born just a couple days before the sun changed over from Libra to Scorpio. So the sun's right at the end of Libra, and their Mars is at 1 degree of Scorpio. So Mars would have just entered Scorpio. So they're only 4 degrees apart, but they're in different signs because
I see how that happens.
yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Okay.
So one's at the end of a sign, one's at the beginning. So they are conjunct still, but they have different energies that they're kind of coming to the table with. And those are both opposing their Jupiter. So the sun opposite Jupiter would bring a strong attention to generosity.
Okay.
And I'm seeing a lot of idealism, big picture thinking here with this person, and wanting to be charitable, wanting to give of their energy. So I don't know how this is tied in. Maybe this is a Nobel Prize winner, but that would, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like this would have won a prize. The Mars opposite Jupiter means that they have a lot of energy, a lot of like zest for life. You know, there's just a lot that they would want to accomplish in their lifetime.
Kind
but
of
it
an
would be,
explosive figure type of thing.
yeah, but it's restless. It feels restless. And then their Neptune is heavily squared. So this would make them idealistic, but maybe to a fault, where it's hard for them to think realistically as well, just because there's so much focus being put toward what could possibly happen, what the potential of things would be.
Big into potential. Okay.
Big into potential idealism. This whole chart is just very idealistic. Yeah. And so, again, with this Neptune, the Neptune is conjunct the moon. So they feel things very deeply. This person feels things very deeply and is very affected by how they feel about life.
That's intense.
Yeah, this is an intense chart, but it's not like super negative, but
No.
it feels very big at the same time. Like this person like their experience of life would have been big and full of feeling.
As a professional vibe checker, I think you're exactly on the point there, especially talking about
I'm gonna put that on my business card. Professional vibe checker.
I think you nailed it too, especially with the idealism. What is the word for that?
Idealism.
Idealism. So yes, the idealism here is real that you're picking up on. Because I didn't do too much of a hop, skip, and a jump away from the Peace Prize theme. I wanted to learn more about the person who founded it. So that was the chart for Alfred Nobel.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
so that makes sense that he would have been drawn to maybe wanting to share that generosity with others and wanting to like reward people that would be in that mode of
Yes.
thinking.
Interesting too, because almost in a way to make amends. So I want to get into that a little bit here because I didn't know about this either.
Okay.
You hear about philanthropists and you think that it just always comes from a place of good, and it did. However, there's some interesting stuff in his history here.
All right.
So Alfred Nobel was a businessman, an engineer, and an inventor, as well as a chemist from Sweden who amassed a fortune in his life, and after his death, used it all to establish the Nobel Prize Committee and the Perpetual Fund. So his most famous invention during his life, which gets kind of the wishy-washy of like, it wasn't a great thing if used in the wrong hands, was dynamite. He is the inventor of dynamite, but he's also credited with having 355 patents in his lifetime.
Okay, that's like the restless energy Mars opposite Jupiter.
You got it.
Like,
He can't stop. Like,
also, Mars opposite Jupiter is kind of like dynamite. Like, it's a lot of energy that's big and like.
Well, that's why I asked you if he was explosive, because I knew it was coming next.
Oh my God! What did I say? I don't even remember.
Yeah, you were like, yeah, kind of, but more so focused. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was me trying to lead you.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
So back to like we're not playing the Oscar Wilde game anymore. We have Alfred Nobel being born into an impoverished family. His father was also an inventor, but he was self-taught. He was an engineer who built bridges and tested new explosives on rocks in order to build bridges better. So you can see the direct connection between where Alfred Nobel got that from as a source of inspiration as a child, is to try specific inventions around blowing stuff up. So even though his family didn't start out affluent, after they filed for bankruptcy, the family had to flee to St. Petersburg in Russia. And here is where his father's inventions really launched the family into success. They were, at this time of their sudden success, Alfred was also thirsting for knowledge, and his family was finally able to hire him private tutors. And because he came from a place of nothing and suddenly had this opportunity, he soaked it up. So he quickly became fluent in English, French, German, and Russian. Wow. He also acquired an almost immediate adaptation to understanding chemistry. He only officially attended school for 18 months in his entire lifetime, and he decided to skip college because he wanted to get to work. So I think that relates into that restlessness of your chart again, with Jupiter playing in a little bit.
Yeah, there's a lot of energy for sure. Like, and his Mercury is in Scorpio, so that's going to give him the desire to really explore topics in depth and at length. And
on his own.
I could see him getting bored by having to like sit in a classroom, and maybe like that unaspected Uranus. Like, they want things to be like, a little more predictable, but they want to be in charge. Like, they don't want to be at the whim of somebody else. So that would be all about working for yourself or not being in like traditional schooling.
Well, that makes sense too, because he was also known as a solitary man. And he went through bouts of severe depression as well, like when he couldn't feel like he was being productive enough,
Yeah. Okay.
He filed his first ever patent at age 24, and then he soon followed his family into business. They amassed wealth in Russia and eventually became the owners of an iron and steel plant, then several, which manufactured cannons and weaponry at the time. So his discovery came through manipulating nitroglycerin to create a more stable form of the explosive, and that's how we got dynamite. And that's his first major success and what he's really known for in the business world. But for this reason, like I mentioned earlier, I want to read a quote from his obituary, which kind of is why there's a little bit of controversy around the money that funds the philanthropic process of the Nobel Peace Prize. And so this quote from his obituary said that Dr. Alfred Nobel, who became rich by finding ways to kill more people faster than ever before, died yesterday. So,
oh my God,
not a huge, great public opinion of him, circa 1897, I think is when he passed away.
Yeah.
But, he's really changed that, in the time since his death, thanks to his legacy, which was very much done with forethought on his part. It apparently took him years to create his complicated will with a team of lawyers, and it was sealed until he died. That was really smart to do because his achievements would alter his legacy, but it was also stated that unbeknownst to his family, all of his assets would be liquidated to invest in a fund consisting of safe securities in hopes of sponsoring what is now the Nobel Peace Prize Fund in perpetuity. So, I think a lot of the family and friends thought they were going to get a Nobel-sized payout at the end, and instead the world did,
Yep.
So the legal battle that took place after his death took 4 years to resolve, and that's why the first Nobel Peace Prize wasn't given out until 1901.
Wow, this was super interesting.
Right?
This is the type of history that I just love. Like, oh my gosh, fascinating. I didn't know any of this.
It's neat, and I'm going to jump in the rules real quick because I just thought they were fascinating. But because of his work with planning and dedication to philanthropy, Nobel Peace Rewards take an entire year to vet, as I was mentioning earlier. The Nobel Committee must nominate a prospect to become a laureate. And like I said, there's thousands of nominations each year, generally creating a list of 350 individuals per category. And the recipients must meet the criteria of being a leader in their field while also demonstrating strong moral values, selflessness, humbleness, and progressive thinking in each vertical that they face. And so that is the legacy and some of the life of Alfred Nobel.
Super fascinating.
Right. It's really cool how people can change their legacy like that. Like that's what I thought was really neat, was like the obituary said that he was a murderer, but that's the furthest thing from either you and my mind at this point,
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, like in looking at the chart, like I see some of the solitary nature, but I don't see anything that would necessarily indicate that he had like awful intentions by looking at his chart.
He made an invention that has incredible use for good and equal use for bad. And it really depends on who's holding the tool,
Yeah, and with his idealistic mind, maybe he didn't even consider like how it could have been used for bad.
For real. Yeah. We can't say, but either way, he really turned his reputation around over the past 100 years. That's for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's nice. And I'm glad that so many people are being recognized for the wonderful contributions they make to the world.
For sure. But that's all I had for you, Ash. Before we go, I definitely want to call out that we're trying to do a live Halloween episode next Monday. I think that's before Halloween, but that's when... No, there's no point in putting out a forecast on Thursday, so we're going to do it a little bit earlier.
Yep, so we're going to do Monday the 28th, so the episode might not be out at the normal time because we're going to do a live that night. So find us on social media. We'll post all the details, and there will probably be something up on YouTube, too, that has like a time that you'll be able to find. So, we look forward to seeing you then for a spooky Halloween special.
Awesome. Thanks for listening today, Ash, about the Nobel Peace Prize, and thank you for the reading as well.
Yes, thank you, Ty. And happy Scorpio season, everyone.
Talk to you soon.
Unclouded Eye stars Ashley Brooks and Ty Gowan. It's produced and directed by Nick Nordfors. Music is by Ashley Jane Cecilia and Jay Caron. Our community manager is Erin Cross. Our art is by Dawn Aquarius. Unclouded Eye is presented by Haunt Me. Follow Unclouded Eye at Unclouded Eye on Instagram and TikTok, or on Patreon at unclouded_eye.